the right side, the 10 to the 5, touchdown! 6, going to the hoop, puts it up, puts it in! A fantastic play.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, and hello, friends. Whatever other basketball saying you like to use, either one. It's hoop season, Cody. It's upon us. We are here.
Unfortunately, that was a golf saying first.
It was a golf saying first, but then it became a basketball saying.
It did. And however, it is not one anymore.
It is not.
But what it is basketball season.
It is. It is.
Debatably the best time of the year.
Our favorite time of year. And look, we started this show, obviously, with the idea of, let's start on football. We love football. Football's great, and we've had so much fun. This has been the most fun I've had in a year covering high school sports. Point blank, period. And it's not even my favorite season.
You know, the best part is we've had some fun fan interaction, and
Just
you know where this is going, but it's going to continue to stay that way.
It is going to continue to stay that way. It is. So what we did for this very, very special episode, Cody, is we chose 20 schools out of our coverage area to preview for this season. That does not mean these are the only 20 schools we're going to see. That does not mean these are the only 20 schools we care about. By no means. These are just 20 schools that we think will have a very interesting basketball season. You're welcome to let us know what we missed in the comments. You always do. So please do. We want to fill out the schedule as much as possible. But I'm excited. And without further ado, Cody, let's jump in. Starting with Starkville. We're staying home. Starkville boys. We've got them predicted at 12-7 off of the games they have listed on Max Preps right now. Their season opener is interesting to me, Cody, against Meridian, defending 7A state champions.
Well, it'll be a fun one, or in theory, it could be a fun one. I think it'll really tell you what Meridian looks like more than anything, unless Starkville just shocks them.
Well, you look back at the Starkville team last year, a really young squad. They get a new head coach this season. They had talent. That was never the question. They were a very talented team, very athletic. They ran the floor really well, got after it on defense. It was the little stuff that killed them in a lot of games last year. Yeah. Turnovers. Turnovers were a big problem. A big problem. Free throws. Little stuff like that can be improved upon.
Some of the preseason polls listed at number 2. I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't.
They might move up, at least in my rankings throughout the season, but I have a very hard time putting them at 2 coming into the season.
Well, I have a hard time putting them at 2 when Oxford is on the other side looming with a 6'7" big man and among other really talented players.
Among some really other talented schools.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 2 is just a little high for me.
For the boys' side, yes.
Yeah, I don't get that whatsoever.
On into the girls' side of Starkville High, we've got Starkville High's girls predicted at 19-4. This is a team that has everything you want out of a high school women's basketball team. They've got shooters. The pace of play is electric. They can run the floor, but they have got a presence in the low post that most teams will not be able to compete with.
Yeah, Zaria Edwards, we've seen her the past couple of years. We've seen her in volleyball, similar to Macy Pfeiffer in the sense that she plays multiple sports, and she's really good the multiple sports she plays. Averaged 14.1 a game last year, and this was a really good Starkville team last year who lost to Tupelo in the second round, who won 7A state championship, 7A state championship. So, I mean, and that was a close game.
That was.
So it feels like they're almost there. A couple more steps and they can get there.
Edwards in her senior season, I really like her ability to space the floor as well. She's not going to step out and hit the corner 3 or hit a 3 in transition or anything, but if she catches at the elbow and she's got enough room to let one fly, she'll do it, and she'll hit it at a high clip.
She also draws everyone on the court.
Defenders. Yeah. She draws so many defenders inside. The kick out 3 is always going to be an option there. I really like the Starkville girls team.
Yeah, she's very good at the game of basketball. She knows how to play it. She gets the flow. Starkville's going to be, the girls' side is going to be really fun to watch. I think the entire season.
I agree. On into another 7A school in Tupelo. Now, this Tupelo team did not make the playoffs last year. This is a rebuilding season, or last year was a rebuilding season after losing a lot of talent. London James and that crew gone. They've got to find a way to get a little bit better this year. The asterisk there is only because not all the games are listed on Max Preps right now. I think they finish this season somewhere around that 500 mark.
Yeah, I would agree. And
which is an improvement on last season.
It just feels like you said, maybe trying to build some depth. They just don't have the pieces right now.
No,
and that's the killer.
Not a lot of hoops talent coming through that group.
And
on the men's side of things, women's different story.
Early in the season, like 3 days, they will play the defending 3A state champs, and that may not be very.
That's
easy.
That's a Booneville win, I think.
3 days. That is insane.
I know.
That's Saturday.
Well, 3 days from now, when this releases, that is tomorrow.
Yes, that is correct.
That is tomorrow. So, again, basketball season is here. On into Tupelo's girls, 13-3. A really different kind of team. They like to space the floor. They're going to draw you out. They're going to make you play the full 94 feet, 50 feet wide. Think they win a good bit of ball games. Only 16 games listed. Obviously not the complete schedule. I've got them around the 15 to 16 win mark.
They did win state last year.
They did.
Remember that. The weird thing about last year, too, was they lost quite a bit of games.
Yeah.
But they were early in the season. They were ugly.
They turned it on.
Bad
They turned
losses.
it on.
Yeah. And another thing to mention, last year, their 2 losses in division play were only to Germantown.
Yeah.
They end up winning state, but those are 2 big games coming in January. But yeah, losing only 3 seniors, Tupelo feels like they might have another path.
Yeah,
maybe not
on
to
the
win
girls'
it,
side.
but if not, make it to the semis, maybe even further.
On the girls' side, for sure. And 7A in Mississippi is where it really becomes a lot about matchups. We talk about the NCAA tournament all the time and how you can be ranked or seated at wherever, but it's about the matchups. And when we get to the 7A level in MHSAA, it's also about the matchups. Speaking of matchups, there's a player that plays for Louisville boys that is a matchup nightmare, and it's Naj Coburn. They've got 2 big games this year that I've got picked out. They've got one against East Webster, one against Kosciuszko. Now, we watched this Louisville team a couple of times last year, and the one thing we took away from it is that Naj Coburn is the truth. That kid can go.
Yeah,
he just needs help.
He needs a lot of it. That's a kid that can do just about anything you ask him. You want him to drive,
a 3-level score in every sense of the word.
If you want him to drive, he can, and whatever you need from him. He's got the distance too. He's incredibly athletic. Like, the issue is who is around him. This is a team that needs to focus on Naj Coburn. He needs to be getting up as many shots a game as humanly possible.
You need to be creating good shots because I thought that last year with this Louisville team, a lot of times is when they would get Coburn the ball, a lot of times it was let him ISO and see if he can get a bucket. That can't be how you win ball games. You've got to scheme him open because it's obvious now Naj Coburn is nobody's best kept secret. He is the big scorer for this Louisville team, and he's going to be what the opposing defenses are focused around. They've got to scheme him open. They've got to scheme him getting downhill.
Yeah, when we watched him a couple of times last year, there's a game specifically where he had, it felt like 20 points in the third quarter, didn't touch the ball in the fourth. That can't happen. I imagine the ball will be in his hands quite a bit this season, but he needs some help. You have him listed at 10-9 for the predicted record. There will be some games that he wins on his own, and there will be some games that they lose because he's the only one that can do anything on that team.
And that's why I think I've got them around that 500 mark. I think that once people figure it out, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to find wins. I don't think it's going to be as tough for this Louisville girls team to find wins.
No, and we have them predicted at 14-6, and I think it could be higher, and I also think it could be lower. And I say that because they have an ugly early non-divisional slate.
Should clean up non-divisional.
Yeah. So they lost to Tisch County in the quarterfinals last year. Again, they might have a tough go early on, but they were undefeated in district play last year. They could probably do it again. We'll see how it goes. I mean, this is a team that in divisional play, the games that matter are very,
won.
very successful.
They won. They did win. Sticking with fantastic athletes, there's one that plays for Choctaw County High School, and his name is Caleb Cunningham.
Who's that?
He's this guy that is committed to play football at Alabama
Well, that's a good sign.
at the wide receiver position.
I like that.
He can put his elbow in the rim.
Yeah, and Tanner, this is a guy you and I have talked about for last couple of years. A really great athlete.
Great kid, too.
He is a great kid. We had a couple of minutes to talk to him after a couple of weeks ago, but you're a guy that thinks he might be better at basketball than the sport he's going to play in college.
Maybe not better, but he could go play collegiate basketball. He's that good. I mean, he's got the entire package athletically. I mean, just a freak athlete. I'm talking, when I say he can put his elbow in the rim, I mean it. It is a show when Caleb Cunningham gets on the fast break and he's trying to put someone in a body bag.
Yeah, he'll be fun to watch this season. I mean, they made it pretty far last year.
They did.
In the playoffs.
Deep playoff run, got Cunningham back. You get that class of him and the rest of that junior group in there. A lot of athleticism to play with.
I think this is a team that could go far in the playoffs again. I'm just not sure that
They're not beating Booneville.
Yeah, I'm not sure Caleb Cunningham can win a state championship for you. Maybe in football.
In football, maybe.
But I don't know if he can in basketball.
Not about basketball. Not about it. Not when you got to go up against who we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Choctaw County girls, it's kind of the same story. Really athletic. They're a good, solid group. They play well together. Got them at 18-4. Cody, you made that prediction. Tell us about them.
Just another solid team. I mean, collectively a good team. They lost in the semis, and sometimes things don't go your way too well, and that was the case for both of these Choctaw County teams, at least as far as basketball goes last year. It just making adjustments from last year is the big key, and which is why, at least for the men's side, I think they're going to make another run, but sometimes there's just a powerhouse you can't get through.
And I think in 3A there is one. Last school before we take a short break and dive right back in, Leake Central. Now, this is a very interesting boys team for Leake Central. They have got one of the premier talents, I think, in our coverage area, and a combo guard that is as close to unguardable as it can get in Tylen Fortune.
You want to talk about putting your elbow through the rim?
Yeah.
That dude can do it.
He's got ups.
We have been able to watch him for the past 2 or 3 years now. I don't remember what year it was when we first started seeing him, but the pure athleticism
is just insane.
On top of the fact, he's tall, dude. He's not that tall.
No.
But the man can jump. I mean, it is, if you ever have an opportunity, if you're in the Leake Central area, or if they come to you, go to a game.
Watch it.
Go watch it. You will not be wasting your time. Your mind will be blown. He
just glides at times,
Yes.
I think.
Not only can he dunk the ball like no tomorrow,
He can shoot it.
He can shoot it.
No, he's
got some handles too.
He's a 3-level scorer, man. He's going to run that offense. He just doesn't have a lot of help. Kind of the same situation with Coburn. We actually watched them last year in this kind of one-on-one duel up close and personal, and it was really fun to watch.
And it was a duel, and this is what we were referencing earlier when Naj Coburn did not touch the ball in the fourth quarter.
Same game.
And when we say did not touch, he might have touched it once or
I think
twice.
he got a couple shots up.
But it was not often. And yeah, that'll be fun to watch again.
It will be. We've got them and Canton November the 19th. We'll be at that game. I cannot wait. Canton, obviously, number one player in the state with Jamar and Davis Fleming. And then they go to Louisville again, January 28th. We're hoping to make that trip as well.
There's a lot of good basketball in store for us.
There is. There is.
I mean, we get this until like March, I think.
We do.
We get a lot of fun coming our way.
On the flip side for Leake Central, just before we round it out and head to break, Leake Central girls 20-10, Cody.
Yeah, this is a team that has a lot of games listed, unlike some of these other schools. But second round loss to Louisville last year. We kind of talked about that Louisville team not too long ago. They've got the pieces, especially when they get in divisional play. And it's a solid Leake Central team. It's not a great team by any means. And they have to find a way to be better in divisional play, get a higher seeding. If you're able to do that, you might make it further in the playoffs.
Agreed. We're going to take a short break, come back, and on the other side, we're talking about Albany and Braden Shettles, all that here and more in just a moment from the Richard Schwartz and Associates Studios and the Magnolia Fields podcast.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, you know who to call. Call me. Remember, one call, that's all.
Welcome to the Richard Schwartz and Associates Magnolia Field Studios. One call, that's all.
Back here from the Richard Schwartz and Associates Studios, Tanner Marlar and Cody Blaszczak rolling along with our preseason coverage of our 20 schools within our coverage area, 20 of the schools in our coverage area.
We were really excited to do this episode. We're 15 minutes in and already 6 schools in. This is kind of sad. I thought this was going to last a while. This is flying by.
It's flying by. I don't like it.
No, I don't either, because this is exactly what happened with football.
It is.
And now it's almost over. And then it's going to happen with basketball, and then we're going to be really sad.
I'm going to be really sad. But then we get baseball.
Yeah, but
and softball.
Basketball.
I mean, fair.
But basketball.
But basketball.
Come on.
Speaking of basketball, you know what they do well in Union County, Mississippi?
Tell me.
Play basketball.
They do that. They have also played some very good football this year as well, too.
They have that. New Albany men's team. We got them at 19-4 out of the games listed, Cody.
It's not fair. And there are a couple of schools. We just talked about one of them in Choctaw County. But it's not fair when you can have a really good football player that is really good at the basketball, too. New Albany has that, and Braden Shettles. It's not fair.
It's not. It's just not. I mean, his dad is the coach there, so I think the offense probably going to run through him. But it's not like his daddy ball. Like, Shettles can, the kid can play.
He is not good, or he's not playing just because his dad's coach. The dude can ball.
Yeah.
He is a great player. He is a ton of fun to watch.
And look, personal story, I grew up around the Shettles family. Braden's older brother Mitchell and I played together. And when I talk about some of the best people outside of the game, that's the Shettles family. And Braden embodies that. I remember when Braden was in elementary school, and I was coaching a 3rd and 4th grade team. And I got the 2nd pick of the draft, didn't get Braden, obviously. And I remember just watching him play back then and just remembering just
Are you saying he was the first pick?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm just making sure.
And I just remember looking back and watching just how far ahead of the other kids that his game was at that point. You could tell he just ate it, slept it, lived it, and breathed it. And now he's one of the better shooters and one of the better players in the state.
Once New Albany finishes up with some football, which might be a while. We'll find out.
Very well could be.
It could be a while. We don't really know yet. But yeah, he'll get back to the basketball team. He'll do his thing, and
they should have him back by the time they play these 2 games. They get Ingomar on December the 5th. All of Union County will be at that game.
I think that if they were to make
That's
the
state championship weekend, yes.
So he may not.
They may not. He may not. But
Yeah.
they should have him back around then. And then on December the 28th, they take on 7A Hernando, and I think this is a game New Albany can win.
I think they're a talented team. I think we talk about some of the star players, but they play the sport the way it's meant to be played.
They share the ball well, man. They really do.
I think on top of Braden Shettles and Coach Shettles and all of that, they just play very well.
There's
a lot of chemistry between those players,
too. It is a well-coached team.
It's a tough team to take down.
It is that. It is that. Another team that's going to be tough to take down this year, Red Bay, the boys squad. Oh, baby. You look at the team last year.
The Alabama school.
I was going to say, we're crossing state lines now.
I'm for it.
We don't get to talk about Red Bay football a lot because it's just geographically, it's tough to get over there, and the football team typically doesn't play a lot of Mississippi schools.
And they're typically not great.
Now, they weren't fantastic last year in basketball by any means, but they got an addition this offseason in a transfer high schooler named Khalil Luster. Played last season at Belmont, started varsity as an 8th grader, averaged like 18 a game.
That's insane.
That's insane. I mean, and it's not like he's shooting threes either. This cat's 6'8".
6'8" at 8th grade is ridiculous.
Yeah. Out of the games listed right now, we've got them at 15-2. 2 games that I think are on the schedule for them that they should have circled, and Luster should have circled. They go back to Belmont December the 10th. Don't know if we're going to make that one. But January 4th, they host they play Lafayette, in a tournament. Now, we're going to try to catch Red Bay at another game that I almost put on their big games list. They travel to New Site early in the season. I think that's going to be a good ball game to watch.
There are going to be a lot of good ball games throughout the state all year long.
All year long.
And I think getting out to a player like that will be really, really fun. There's a couple of teams and players that we have circled that we have to get out and see. As a freshman now,
my goodness,
I don't know. As an 8th grader,
well,
you
the
put up
sky's
18.
the limit. The
I know.
sky's the limit. I mean, you're talking a legitimate top 25 recruit in his class potentially.
What scares me is you had 18 your 8th grade year. What are you going to score this year? 25? And then the next year, what, 30, 35, and so on until your senior year? It's a scary thought.
It is. It is. And I can't wait. Like you said, we're going to get out to him this year, watch him at some point. We have to. We have to.
Maybe we'll see a little bit of the backboard break.
Hey.
Wouldn't that be something?
That would be insane. That would be insane. I've never seen one break in person.
I haven't either. But I would love to see
Maybe
that.
Khalil Lester does it. Maybe he does.
This is us calling out to you to do that when we see
Khalil, try and break the backboard.
We would
Please try.
You would go viral on TikTok. You probably already are with some of the plays you've made in your young career, but you will be there again.
You will. Speaking of someone else that's made some fantastic plays in his career, Kedrick Simmons. What school does he play for, Cody?
Booneville.
He won a lot, and I mean a lot, of hardware at Booneville in basketball these last few years. Kedrick Simmons just announced earlier this week, by the time you're watching this, that he's committed to playing at Jackson State, which I think is a really good pick for him, actually.
Yeah, it gives him some time to develop, for one.
I don't think he finishes his career at Jackson State.
Time to develop.
Yeah.
That's the key. I think you get some playing time, I think, sophomore year, maybe even after
Maybe
your freshman
sophomore,
year.
junior year, you hit the portal,
Yeah.
and I think you could realistically see him landing on a Mississippi State or an Ole Miss roster, something like that, because he's that fringe talent where he's got the athleticism. The ball skills have yet to really catch up with his body, and I'm not sure how much of that is his fault. I enjoy watching him and this Booneville team play simply because they get after you. It is full court press, full 94 feet for 36 minutes. Or 32, excuse me.
It's going to be that way this year, too.
It is.
Booneville looking to repeat for 3A. It's really hard to argue that they won't.
It is.
I mean, if you can find an argument, tell us.
I'd love to hear it.
But I just don't think it's valid.
I don't either. We've got them at 25-2.
And I think that 2 is a big maybe.
The 2 could be an if. Now, they do play some pretty tough high level opponents, DeSoto Central, a couple of teams like that. And they are still a 3A, but they're a darn good 3A.
Yeah. It's going to be, I can't wait to get out to see them.
I can't either. And not just because of their boys team either. We've got the girls team predicted at 20-2.
A heartbreaker last year.
Yeah.
State championship, Belmont lost by that many. They lost by 1.
And Belmont, one of the teams that we didn't quite get to fit in this 20-minute span, but that girls team is electric. Make no doubt about it.
And they do get Belmont in the regular season, January 17th.
It's a divisional matchup.
That's what you call fun.
The last few seasons, I look back at the last 5-6 years, Mississippi 3A basketball has ran through Division I. You get Belmont's got a ring in there. Belmont's got multiple rings in there, I believe. Kossuth has a ring mixed in there. Booneville, obviously, rings mixed in there. North Mississippi 3A, at least, women's basketball has ran through that division.
I don't know if you're getting a common trend. But you know how we looked at 3A, the 3A football brackets?
Yeah.
3A might be the most competitive.
I've always said that. I think it's the most competitive.
There's so many good matchups.
There are.
And this could be another 117. I think Booneville's going to be, the girls team is going to be really good this year. Have them sitting at 20-2. That Belmont game is a big one. You lose in the state championship to them last year by
bad
1.
Blood there. There's some bad blood there.
I mean, you want to, and you get it at home. You want to get out and get that one under your belt early, or not early in the season, but when you can play them.
Yeah. I mean, that, again, like you said, divisional implications, postseason implications. It's all there. That's going to be must-see basketball.
And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw them meet again in the playoffs. And
Or the
that
state championship.
correct. That would be something to see.
A rematch.
I mean, I think that's what I'm rooting for
It's a very
in
real
3A
possibility.
for girls.
Very real possibility. Moving on into Choctaw Central. Now, this is a team that when you talk about chemistry and you talk about playing together and you talk about sharing the wealth, this team doesn't. This team has guys all over the floor that can shoot the lights out. And it's a roll of the dice every time you play them on whose night it's going to be.
Which is the best part about it.
Which is the most fun part of it.
I wish we could remember who it was.
Michael Sam, I remember it. Or not Michael Sam, something Sam.
That might be right.
His last name was Sam.
Whenever we saw them last year, he hit 10 threes in the first half.
Wasn't even the team's leading scorer coming into the night.
And as you said, it's anyone's
It's
night.
anyone's night. It's anyone's. That's why I love watching teams like that.
It's the special thing about it, but it's just, yeah, this will be a fun team to watch because really you don't know who's going to be the star of the night. You don't know what you're going to get from them. But they're always going to be pretty good in whatever game they're playing. That's what's fun about this team.
Anybody on that team can beat you on any given night.
The issue with that is it's not necessarily championship basketball.
Not quite. You need a guy.
Yes.
You need a guy. They didn't have a guy last year. They have a lot of guys, but they didn't have a guy.
Yeah, I think that's the killer for this team is just about everyone that plays is very talented and can excel in something and does excel, but they just don't get to show it off every single night like you need to in a leader.
Agreed. On into the girls' side of things for Choctaw Central. I think it's going to be less of a challenge for them. We got them at 17-3 out of the games they have listed on Max Preps right now. Again, very solid team. They play together. And in girls basketball, that can get you to a state championship.
Yeah, they lost in the semis last year to Morton. They were undefeated in divisional play. And sometimes you look at these things and you didn't get a good seeding because of your divisional regular season. Well, they went perfect. 10-0, seeded as high as they could be. And they made it to the semis. They made it a long way.
They did.
So, this is a team that I expect to be very good this year, to make another deep postseason run. Once again, it's always the big question. Can they get the job done?
Truth. We're going to split this next school up because we got a few minutes to talk about one side of it, and I want to come back and give this group their own sure enough amount of shine. Ingomar's boys.
Well, they both need to get their shine.
That's what I'm saying. We got them. I'm splitting them up for this reason. Ingomar's boys, 20-8 last season. They get a ring. And Cody, what's fun about this boys squad?
Predicted 20-8 this season.
Predicted 20-8 this season.
Yes.
Correct.
What's special about this team? Let's think. They won state last year. Oh, that's right. They have every single player from last season coming back.
Yeah. That's insane.
How?
That is insane.
Yeah, it is absolutely ridiculous. When you have every single player coming back on top of the fact that you'll probably add some more freshmen or maybe even sophomores into it, I have a very hard time believing you're not going to repeat.
I do too. I've got them picked to repeat. They play up a lot in that non-divisional slate, which kind of explains the 8 losses. I think they roll through divisional play.
Which is, to me at least, playing up as a 2A school.
That's a plus.
It's a plus on top of the fact that everyone is coming back that won state last year with this team. They might be better than 20-8. Don't get me wrong, but they do have a very tough schedule.
They're going to punch a lot of people in the mouth. They are. Big games for them against Calhoun City and New Albany, both in January, one on the 17th and the 30th. We're going to take a short break, come back and talk about the other side of that Ingomar coin and what a side it is. A lot of hardware between these two teams. All that and more on the other side of this break here on the Magnolia Fields podcast from the Richard Schwartz and Associates Studios.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, you know who to call. Call me. Remember, one call, that's all.
Welcome to the Richard Schwartz and Associates Magnolia Field Studios. One call, that's all.
back here from the Richard Schwartz and Associates Studios. Big shout out to our sponsors there in the Magnolia Fields podcast, Tanner Marlar, Cody Blaszczak. If you're just joining us, we just got done talking about the Ingomar boys' path back to the state championship.
Unfair.
Should be a relatively easy one.
You want to talk about unfair?
This is unfair.
That it is.
This is unfair. Go
Ingomar's
ahead.
girls team.
Just go ahead and put up the prediction. Go ahead. Because I'm serious about this.
Put the prediction.
Yeah.
Just give them the title.
Just do it now. Just do it now. Just do it now. Save us the time.
There is no debate.
Look, do you know how much money and time it takes to go down to Jackson, get the buses together, rent out the Coliseum, make the trophy, get everybody down there? Just give it to them now. Give them the 2A trophy now.
You have them listed as 24 now. There's no reason for them to play 24 games.
Now, I will say this. They did lose some games last year. They lost, I think, 3 or 4 last year. What they did is they went to Gatlinburg to play in a tournament, and they played some really stiff competition. They may do the same thing this year. Out of the games that I saw on Max Preps, there's not a single one that they can't win. Not one.
But there is one you're really interested in.
There is one I'm really interested in. If you look there, November the 12th, they go to Tishomingo County. Tishomingo County has a player by the name of Meg Moore. Meg Moore is a freshman this season. Macy Pfeiffer is a senior. I really think this could be a super cool game of passing the torch to the next great women's MHSAA player. I mean great, because Meg Moore is fantastic. We're going to get to her when we talk about Tish County. But I will have my eyes glued to whatever happens in this women's game on November the 12th.
I'm not sure Macy Pfeiffer wants to hand that torch just yet, though. She's still got another season.
Not yet. But
she has the rest of this year.
It's going to be a battle for that title, really. And I just can't wait. I can't wait. Some of these teams were picked because of how good their men's team is. Some were picked because of how good their women's team is for this actual show. Ingomar's just great at both. They're just great at both.
Yeah.
So is Booneville. It's insane.
That they are.
It's insane.
It's also not really fair when you have some of the most talented athletes and debatably the state's history.
I don't think it's debatably. Again, there's a legitimate argument that Macy Pfeiffer is the best female athlete to come out of MHSAA in a long time. By the numbers. By the numbers.
I think it's more than just by the numbers.
I agree.
Look at the hardware, individual awards, casually plays golf.
Casually plays softball.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I think it's measurable.
It's measurable. It is. On into Amory, the boys' side of things. I got them at 19-10. This is a really solid Amory team. They've got a lot of top-down talent. Nobody that's just going to go out and score 25 a game, but a lot of guys that can get you 12 to 15 on any given night, right? And they play defense. They play really good defense. And I think that wins them a lot of games this year. They got 29 games listed. As far as that 19 goes, I think there's anywhere from a +1 to a -3 or 4.
I think the thing for them is they have a nightmare of a non-divisional.
That's
schedule.
the thing, is that non-divisional slate is ghoulish.
They're going to be solid in divisional play. They lost second round last year. I think they still will make playoffs, might win a game or two. Solid divisional, but they challenge themselves in non-divisional play, and credit to them for it.
They do that.
Record doesn't look great, but they challenge themselves.
They do that. That's going to be a tough division this year, I think. On into someone else who's got a tough division, Baldwyn. Now, we just finished our playoff football episode where we talked a lot about Dylan Johnson, how good he is on the football field. Better on the basketball court. Way better on the basketball court.
Which is scary.
Which is wild. But it is kind of like in football, a one-man band almost. If Dylan Johnson doesn't carry you to a win, who's gonna? So for that reason, we've got them at about 500 on the year. 11-11 out of the games listed. Get a big one against Tish County. And then I think the biggest one for them, regular season-wise, is January 24th as they travel to Biggersville, defending 1A state champions.
Yeah, that'll be a tough one. This Baldwyn team is pretty solid.
Yeah.
What I will say is they lost in the quarters to Byers.
Yep.
Byers played Biggersville in the 1A state championship. Biggersville won that. The only 2 regular season losses for Baldwyn were to Biggersville.
Yeah.
They're there.
They're right there. That's what I'm saying.
There.
Is in 1A, they are right there.
I mean,
right
they're
there.
close.
And we've obviously seen a fall off for Biggersville as far as football talent is concerned this year. If they have that same talent fall off in basketball, Baldwyn could jump them. Very well could jump them.
It's very, very possible.
They've got a guy. They've got a guy. They got Dylan Johnson. They've got a guy.
Yes, they do.
And he can go. He can go. Into Shannon's boys squad, right? We've talked a little bit about this Shannon team, the football team, right? They're really athletic. They put up a lot of points. And oftentimes what we see, Cody, is that athleticism transfer into basketball. I think it does the same. I've got them 10-6 out of the 16 they've got listed. I think realistically this could be a 20-win type team. If that athleticism does transfer over, they go to Amory January 14th and they host Tisch County January 17th.
Decent record. I don't know how to put. There's nothing special.
No,
about
I mean
this
they're
team.
not. Again, they're not going to shock you. I think that they're just going to be able to defend really, really well.
They will be incredibly mediocre. 10-6. They will probably make the playoffs.
They will. I think they make the playoffs.
I'm not sure they make it past the first round. They might make it past the first round. If they do, they're not making it past the second.
It's going to be tough. They need a guy. A lot of these teams, really solid, but they need one guy that could just go.
And you're right. There are a lot of these teams that we cover that you look at and you say, gosh, they've got all the pieces there.
Except
they
a bucket getter.
Yes, they are missing the one guy, which a lot of teams that we've looked at early on, like Leake Central and Louisville, has that bucket getter, but there's no one around him. That's just...
It's kind of the balance. It's kind of the balance
It's
of
a
things.
tough trend.
It is.
But
It is. I think Shannon's going to be a little better than mediocre. I think they're going to be, I think they're going to be a plus 500 team. I think they wind up, again, once postseason is through, pretty close to that 20-win mark, right? Anywhere from 18 to 21 wins, I think, for this Shannon squad.
I don't think they break 20.
If that athleticism transfers. And that's a big if. Talk about some athleticism. Calhoun City, not shy of any of it. In any sport, period, right? Last season, we saw a play that I thought was a floater attempt turn into one of the most vicious alley-oop dunks we saw all year long. That whole team pretty much is back because of how young that athletic group is. I think Calhoun City could be a force to be reckoned with in 2A. Yet again, I don't think they beat Ingomar, but I think they're going to be really athletic and really fun to watch.
That is a team that is full of athletes and can do a lot of things, but they're not per se basketball players. They are basketball players. They're just not. It's a bunch of athletes put on a team more than anything when I look at it. Now, you've got a couple of guys. The one that you're talking about that had the vicious dunk, I'm drawing a blank to his name.
That was Mr. Farmer.
It might have been. Like I said, though, that's all athleticism.
It is. And that's the thing, is they are
don't shoot
super
the ball
athletic.
very
They don't
well.
shoot it well. They defend well. And they run the floor well.
And they can dunk the life out of it.
They can. They can play above the rim.
Yeah, the shooting is what kills them. And now, because of the defense and the fast breaks and the dunks, they're a fun team to watch.
They are. They got to win some games.
Yeah, they went through a stretch last year in December. They played 9 games. They lost 8 of them.
Yeah.
That can't happen.
No.
That got to find a way to clean that up. Maybe give yourself a little bit of confidence. So when you get into the end of the season,
In that January stretch, you've got to be hot at the right time.
Get hot, confidence is high, play a little better than you actually are. Maybe you make a run out of it. Only made it to the second round last year, but like you said, young team.
Yeah. You expect a little more out of the girls' team. 16-6, we've got them predicted on the season. Again, they're in that 2A spot, though, where it's just like there are the queens of 2A in Ingomar, and then there's everybody else, right? And I mean everybody else. Calhoun City's in everybody else. They just are. And there's no shame in that. They just are.
luckily enough, they don't have to deal with Macy Pfeiffer next year.
They don't, but they do have to deal with Bella Pfeiffer.
They do have to do that. And we've talked about her before. She might be just as good when she is the one.
She might be.
Yeah, but it's Calhoun City is a good team. But Ingomar is a different type of beast.
Yeah, and they again go to Ingomar on January 17th, and they go to Houston in late January. I don't get that game. I don't get scheduling that one, especially for the boys' side. I think that's just a chance to dissuade any momentum that you do have right there.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
I mean, I just don't get it. I
mean, it doesn't make a bunch of sense, but maybe there is some sort of...
Well, hey, maybe they win it. Maybe they shock me and win it. I don't think they do that.
I agree, but...
Fair.
I imagine there is some type of reason behind it.
I'm sure. I just like to hear it. I really would.
That's fair. I'll give you that.
I really would. Going to go into one more school and then take another short break before coming out on the other side and giving some predictions, not just on records, but on rings. Pontotoc boys. We got them at 20-10. Now, when we go and do our season recap for football, we're going to have to talk about Pontotoc. They surprised us in football. We underestimated them a little bit. We're not doing the same for basketball. 20-10. That's a heck of a record. It's a heck of a team if you wind up 20-10 at the end of the regular season.
They were 16-13 last year.
Yeah.
Got some returning pieces.
Yeah.
And personally, I think their schedule is a lot more manageable than last year.
I do think they have a better schedule.
So, and like you said, there are some schools we can underestimate. This is not one of them.
No.
There is another one, but we'll get into that later.
That's on you.
Besides the point.
It's on you this time.
Besides the point, they're going to be a decent team. I think they'll be a decent team. Again, they'll probably make the playoffs. The question is, how far do you get in the playoffs? That's where I worry.
Yeah. A team that I think is going to go really far in the playoffs, really, really far in the playoffs, Pontotoc's girls squad. Casual 24-3 right now on the outlook, right? Casual 24-3. They play some teams in this non-divisional slate. November 26th, they take on Brandon. December 19th, they're taking on Briarcrest, which Cody just learned is a school where the Blind Side was based on.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, out of Memphis, where Michael Orr played. And Hugh Freeze was the coach at.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something if we had to go over there?
To Briarcrest?
Yeah.
I refuse.
Oh, my bad. We won't do that then.
I refuse.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm not going to grace. I'm not going to go and grace the ground that Hugh Freeze walked on with my presence.
Okay, I'm sorry you feel that way.
That's just the way I feel.
So that means you don't ever want to go to Auburn too, right?
Correct.
Good. I'm glad we're on the same page.
I don't want to go to Oxford. I don't want to go to Auburn.
Don't you drive through Oxford on the way home, or near it at least?
I go to Tupelo.
Oh, okay.
Come on, man. Either way, back to business. Pontotoc girls. Got them at 24-3. They are very, very, very fun to watch. And very, very, very good. We should get to see them in the Tangle on the Trail later this year.
This is a team to watch out for.
It is. Very well could be making a run for a state championship.
Did it last year. Didn't win it last year. Made a run
Made
for it.
a deep run.
Going to try and do the same this year. Maybe cap it off with a ring.
Could do it. They play the right schedule. I think they got it in them.
And sometimes schedule doesn't matter, though. Playoffs are a whole different beast.
That's true. We're going to take a short break, come back, and get Cody in trouble. That's the plan. So with some more predictions. So
just to be clear, you agreed.
I mean, we'll see. We'll talk about it in a second. Either way, all that and more right after the break here from the Richard Schwartz and Associates Studios and the Magnolia Fields podcast.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, you know who to call. Call me. Remember, one call, that's all.
Welcome back to the Magnolia Field Studios, brought to you by Richard Schwartz and Associates. One call, that's all.
Back here from the Richard Schwartz and Associates Studios and the Magnolia Fields podcast. If you're just joining us, I'm Tanner Marlar. He's Cody Blaszczak. And we are rolling on into the final segment of our season predictions for 20 teams in our area, right? Again, these are not our 20 favorite teams. These are just 20 teams that we think are interesting right now in our area. Doesn't mean your team's bad. Doesn't mean your team's good. We'll get to you, I promise. Cody, however, does think that this team is going to be bad. And without further ado, take it away, my friend.
This is about the time of the episode, of the preview episode of the season.
Yes.
Where we look at Tishomingo County and we say they are bad. They were not great last year.
Now, keep in mind, you're strictly talking about the boys' team.
Correct. What I will say is they've only got 17 games listed on that schedule. They went 11-17 last year.
They did.
That's almost 30 games. When they add some games, I'm not saying that they won't win those games. Strictly what their schedule says right now, it does not look like it's going to be a good year for them.
Fair. You get them at 5-12.
I do have them at 5-12.
That's not a good year. That's a rough year. That is rough.
It's not a great schedule.
It's not. They got some toughies.
I hate to be that person, but and it's funny and everything because of the football season, but
it's you that's in trouble now.
It is. When you play your third game of the season against Ingomar, their schedule is not pleasant. It's not. You get Biggersville on there too. It's just not a pleasant schedule. And like I said, when you add some more games, then I'll go back and look and I'll update it. But as of right now, I do not think y'all are going to be good. I think 5-12, was that what it was? Yes. 5-12 is my predicted record with 17 games.
So add some games and we'll reevaluate. Maybe.
We'll reevaluate. That doesn't mean that it's going to go up.
Well, this is the prediction that I made for Tishomingo County. And I got to deal with the girls' team. I did. I got them at 21-1 out of the games that got listed. You want to guess who my one loss is to?
Ingomar.
You nailed it.
That was
you nailed
hard.
it.
That was very, very difficult.
Well, they host them on the 12th, right? We already talked about this game kind of being that cool pass of the torch moment. I really think it's going to be. They go to Belmont December the 6th. I don't see Tish County losing that one because Belmont doesn't have a Macy Pfeiffer. The only reason I see Ingomar beating Tish County is because they do, right? They can go tit for tat, any part of the floor, any phase of the game, and it's close. Now, I think this is realistically going to be a game where Meg Moore has about 35 and her team has about 50. I also think that Meg Moore is going to outscore Macy Pfeiffer in this game, but Ingomar is going to win.
Yeah, the thing about the Ingomar team is they've got Macy Pfeiffer, yes. That's not all they've got.
No.
She's got a very
good supporting cast. Very good supporting cast.
So we talk about Macy Pfeiffer because she is who she is, but let's not forget there are a bunch of other girls
really
on those teams, volleyball and basketball, that if they're not on that team, I'm not sure Macy Pfeiffer looks as good as they are, and I'm not sure they win state like they do.
I think Meg Moore could win Miss Basketball for 4A this year as a freshman.
And the next year, and the next year,
and the next year, and the next year, and the next year. I think after this year, she could become kind of the poster child of Mississippi women's basketball. But Macy Pfeiffer's got to get gone first. She needs to beat her. This is the chance for Tish to beat them and kind of stake Moore's claim to that as the next great player and put it in writing. I just don't know if they do it. I think Ingomar's got a better team around Pfeiffer.
That game is a week from...
Yeah, a week from...
Well this is coming out Friday, so it's in like 4 days.
Yeah.
You said that's the one loss for Tish County. What's your score prediction?
Ingomar 62, Tishomingo County 51.
So an 11-point game.
It's an 11-point game. It's going to be close.
Yeah, I think that's...
Again, I think Meg Moore has about 30 points in this thing. But
it's the sporting cast that helps Ingomar get it done.
Agreed. On into Hickory Flat. And we're working out some stuff. We're going to try to get to a Hickory Flat game or two, maybe even a tournament this season. Boys team looking pretty solid. One of my old coaches, Coach Zach Carnell, is out there. I know he's fantastic, does a great job, and runs a really good offense for the type of program that Hickory Flat is. Got them at 19-10.
I think they're a solid team.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. The reason I have 10 losses on the season is because your divisional play is not pleasant.
Yeah.
And that's what happens
division.
It's what happens with some of these 1A schools when you play bigger schools and all of that. I think if you don't match up against Baldwyn in the first round, I think you win a first round matchup.
I agree.
They just lost to Baldwyn in the first round.
And
last
look,
year.
that's kind of a risky run, right? It's kind of the risky run. Maybe you get better this year. Go show out, hit a few more threes, which I think Carnell and company are going to want to do. And they wind up this season a little bit better. Into the girls' side. Got them at 15-14, around that 500 mark again. We talked about it. These schools like this take a beating in non-divisional play. And then when division rolls around, they're really solid. I think it's the same thing with this Hickory Flat squad, especially on the women's side. I think they're going to take their lumps in non-division, and then by division, they win some games.
15-4 is still a rough record.
15-14?
15-14, yeah, excuse me.
It's not great. But they play a pretty tough non-divisional slate.
Correct. And like we said, as long as those divisional games are solid, non-divisional doesn't matter that much.
Really doesn't.
That's what it feels like the plan is for this Hickory Flat girls team.
I think it's the same plan for this Pine Grove boys team, right? Play a lot of good teams out in that non-divisional slate if you're Pine Grove. Play a lot of them. Question is, where do you wind up on the other side of that? I got them at 12-8 out of the 20 games they got listed right now.
Yeah, they were 4-6 in non-divisional games last year. In divisional, 8-2. Really solid in divisional play. Again,
that's the thing. I think when division hits, they're going to be ready. They're going to roll through pretty well. Yeah. It's a matter of getting to division.
And even then, a second round loss to Potts Camp, so it's just tough. It's the way the basketball works. You're going to make it to state. You've got to find a way to show up and perform, though.
You do. Big game for them, January 31st against Belmont. I think it's a prove-yourself type game late in the season. Pine Grove girls, for a long time, until last year, had been kind of the gold standard as far as 1A women's basketball goes. Obviously, Biggersville takes that crown last year. Pine Grove's still going to be really, really good. Really, really good women's team who plays a tough non-divisional slate, and that's why you see the 7 losses there. Again, going to be great. I think they're going to be fantastic when division hits. They just got to get to division.
Yeah, once they get there, once they get in the playoffs, can you make a run? Do I think that's possible? Yes, I do. Depends on who you play in that semifinal state championship matchup again, though.
Yeah.
I think there's a very good chance they make it there.
I think Biggersville's girls have a better chance of making it back than the boys.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. I think that's the reality of the situation.
I'm not sure that's what Pine Grove wants to hear, but
no, probably not.
I think that is
probably
the reality
not,
of it.
But I think that's the reality of it. On into the last school before we get into some way too early rang predictions. East Webster. Cody, you love this boys squad.
Oh, we did miss them. I was trying to figure that out.
No, I'm going back. I got East Webster.
We have them now. I do like this East Webster team, though. I have them at 20-4. Some big games, Choctaw County and Nettleton, but...
Now, keep in mind, Nettleton playing without their best player. He transferred to Tupelo.
Correct. I don't think they're going to be just miserable, though.
No.
But to my point for East Webster... This is a team that I think is going to have a great regular season. As you can see, the 20-4 record. When Tanner and I got in here and kind of talked about this, it was kind of like, why do you have them so high? Went through the schedule. Maybe 2 or 3 more losses should be tacked on. So I think
there's a plus minus on that of like anywhere from 17 to 20 wins.
So in the realm, but it's not a very difficult schedule.
No, it's not.
I think they're going to manage a lot of wins. the question is, and I think we know the answer to this, you can't get over Booneville.
Can't do it. Nobody in 3A can.
Now, you can make it a little farther in the playoffs.
You're
If
going to
you
run
have
into
a-
them eventually.
Correct. For the sake of running the tables a little longer, you need to play a little better in divisional play.
Yep.
I mean, they
In
were
that division, though, is Choctaw County.
Correct. They were a 3 seed with a 6-2 record, which 6-2 is a good divisional record.
Yeah.
But you can't be a 3 seed. That's when you run into Booneville quickly, and you get a higher seeding. You're going to run the tables a little longer. Once you run into Booneville, I just don't think you're getting through it.
It's done. East Webster's girls. Last one before we wrap it up. Big games for them against Louisville, December the 19th and January the 28th. They go to Biggersville. That's when I got my eye on that girls matchup. But again, 1A is a much different giant than 3A. The problem remains at some point, yeah, you can make a playoff. You can be a playoff team. You can do well in division play. You're still going to run into Booneville, and they are still going to be a buzzsaw. I think that's what's going to happen this year with East Webster.
3A is tough, though.
It's tough,
I
man.
mean,
So tough. Top to bottom. Top to bottom, it's tough.
golly, don't we have ourselves a season?
I'm excited.
And we only went through 20 of the 70.
This is true.
As you said, just because we didn't mention your school today doesn't mean we won't get out there or talk about
We
it
may mention
during
it.
the regular season.
We may mention it
Next week.
2
weeks, whenever. Yeah.
We could.
Boy, oh boy.
I'm ready. I'm excited. Hoops is here. We got about 3 minutes left. Give me one player you're excited to watch this season in the coverage area.
I'm going to go Tylen Fortune just because the past couple of years, he's always been electric every time we've showed up.
He has. He puts on a show.
He does put on a show. And it's not just, I'm going to put on a show every once in a while.
Every
He
game.
consistently does
Every
it
game.
against whoever it
He
is.
does something that I don't think should be humanly possible every time I watch him.
There are a couple players. I don't think it's really fair just to pick one.
It's not, but for the sake of the argument, we are. And
Okay.
I'm going to go with the other side here. I'm going to go with Meg Moore. I'm very excited to watch Macy Pfeiffer and Ingomar dominate 2A yet again. I'm ready to see what the future looks like.
I think watching Meg Moore is going to be great. I think being able to watch Macy Pfeiffer play Meg Moore would really be something special.
I agree.
I think that would be.
That's going to be a packed gym.
Oh, absolutely.
And they may all, the boys' games, I don't think the boys' games are going to be particularly close.
The roof might come off.
It might. I'm going to do my best to be there. I don't know if I will be, but I'm going to do my best. I doubt it, but I'll try.
That would be the goal.
Well, Hoops is here.
Hoops is here, hopefully to stay a little longer than we anticipate. It'll be over before we know it.
It'll
though.
be over before we know it. We'll be playing in Jackson, hoisting a golden ball. It'll be fun.
Just wait. A couple of weeks from now, people are going to get mad at us again, too.
People are going to get mad at us Friday. They're going to get mad at you Friday. They are. Oh, but that's okay.
So be it.
So be it. So
Prove me
be it.
wrong. There's your challenge. Prove us wrong.
That's it. That's the challenge. And that was a 1 hour long special on all you need to know about 20 of the most interesting schools within our coverage area. As always, thanks for tuning in. We're going to try to do some more of these. This was pretty fun. I love the research that went into this one.
It was fun. And, we've got a little bit of time. Not a lot, but I'm just going to make it quick. Khalil Luster. Just lost. That's a dude I want to see.
Same here. Same
Tall, young,
Good.
wild. Yes.
Good. Very good.
Yeah, there are a lot of players out there in this coverage area that we're getting blessed with. It'll be fun this season.
Unfortunately, we're not blessed with more time.
We are not.
So until next time, this has been Tanner Marlar and Cody Blaszczak in the Magnolia Fields podcast from the Richard Schwartz and Associates studios. We will catch you guys next week for all the playoff football and finally a little regular season hoops. All that and more coming your way next week on the Max South Sports Network.